Yo, what's up everyone? Today, I'm making a Blox video showcasing every single sword in First C and Blox. So, it is took me a short amount of time to get all the mastery in every single sword, get all the abilities needed, so I could make this video. Before the video starts, I want to let y'all know to make sure you subscribe and like, because I'm about to make these related videos. And I'm sorry if I didn't post much often, because I was in high school, so most of the time I'm going to be busy, so I won't be able to post videos a lot of times. But anyway, let's get started. Okay, our first sword to showcase is called the Cutlass. And it's a common sword. I would say the M1, I would say just medium. Kinda okay. So we should get started on the ability. First ability is called Quiet Rush. Really simple, just like a dash that deals damage. And then we got Air Rush and Air Rush. It's a long range attack. Probably a great beginner sword in First C. Okay, for our second common sword, it's gonna be the Katana. Okay, the thing with the Katana and Cutlass is that both of them are really similar. I would say the M1's I would say this time the M1's slower. I don't know why, but okay, I will show you why they're similar. So if you see, both of them are very similar. The only difference it does is just the design, basically. On to the next sword, we got Dual Katana, the last common sword, and the most popular sword to grind with in First C. If you see here, the M1 is very fast. I like it. Also, it doesn't like do any dashes whenever you do like the fourth swing. Okay, so here's the first ability. Okay, I would say kind of long range, but it's short. And then here is the tornado. Not a fan of it because it requires to be next to an NPC or a person. So yeah, probably the most popular grinding sword. Okay, so our first uncommon sword is gonna be the Iron Mace. Not gonna lie, this sword I would say it's okay. The fourth hit, the fourth swing, it does like a AoE effect or area of effect damage. If you see, I'm not hitting the enemy close range, I'm just hitting it far away. Okay, so if you question, let's just get started. First ability, you could just like simply hold it, and then it's just like a heavy attack, I suppose. And then we got the killer combo. Does a swing and then it does a smash afterwards. Not gonna lie, this is like probably good for grinding, especially if you don't have elemental fruit, because you should like continuously spam the fourth click attack for the M1. And just like as long as you keep your distance away. And that's it for the Iron Mace. Okay, so our second uncommon sword in First C is the Triple Katana. This one's like mostly interested because like I was like questioning how does the M1 work, but I see it. Okay, let's just get over with it. Okay, so for the first ability of the Triple Katana, a long range, I would say it's good. Second ability, Violent Rush. He cancelled it. At least the range, I would say, is medium. Okay, here's the second ability, a dash. Similar to Cutlass and Katana. I would say this sword is. I would say this sword is. It is good for grinding, but I would say it's like might be good for PvP also. But most of the time, you're not gonna be PvPing in first C, basically. Okay, so our last uncommon sword, it's gonna be Shark Saw. Similar to Iron Maze, the fourth swing, it does AoE damage. You see here, the enemy's not like taking damage. Okay, let's get over with the abilities. First ability, I'll say it's good. I use this sword a lot of times for grinding. Okay, and here's the second ability. Okay, so it doesn't I can't tell if it's considered a mobility ability, but it does make it move basically. But I wouldn't say it's a mobility. It just does that. Most of the time, I use the abilities on Shark Saw on my alt account to do some combos whenever I'm doing grinding with the NPCs basically. Not gonna lie, this sword's decent until, yeah, it gets trash. So, yeah, basically. Okay, so the sword that is not well known in First C is the Headed Blade. Yeah. I actually never heard no one talk about this sword. The M1, I would say it's fast. Luckily, it's not those type of swords where it does like the dash. Where if it does, then it's gonna be annoying because it's gonna be like hard to grind. The M1 is decent. Now let's just get to the abilities. We got Assassinate, a dash. Kind of like that, but can't tell if it like does stun or whatever. Okay, next the Raging Wind. It does like 3 tornadoes, basically. So yeah, that's it for the Headed Blade. I don't have much, so tell. Yeah, let's go to the next sword on our list. Okay, so our second rare sword is the pipe. Also not well known. I don't know if it's just me or like I don't listen to the community that much. The M1, I would say yeah, it's slow. Not a fan of it. But I find pipe interesting because of its abilities, because it does burning damage. First ability, pipe ignition. Pretty cool. And then our second ability, Dragon Blast, which it does burning damage. If you see the damage is counting up. I would say pipe might actually be good for PvP if you think about it, because of the burning damage. But the only thing I'm questioning, because of the pipe second ability doing burning damage, doesn't mean will it like temporarily disable player's instinct? Who knows? Well, next to the next sword. Okay, so our third rare sword in our list is Soul Cane. And probably the most well-known sword in the game, especially in First C. It's a good sword, but the problem of obtaining it is just expensive. That's literally it. Our first ability, it basically freezes the enemies or stun for a while. So it's pretty good if you want to do like combos and stuff. Like something like this. Hold up. I'm not gonna do the combo because well we're doing on swords. Also these enemies are weak, so I won't be able to do my full combo. Okay, so our second ability. Let's do our second ability. So that's our first. Now our second. It's just bunch of slashes, which is called the second ability is called Soul Slashes. First ability, Soul Beam. Just remember it freezes. Meanwhile the second, it basically does bunch of slashes. The most well-known sword in First C and the entire Blox route. Many people, not many, but some people actually use this sword to PvP. So yeah, the next sword. Let's just go to the next sword, please. Okay, so our fourth sword, if I believe, our fourth rare sword is the Warden Sword. Not the well-known sword, also, because I hear no one talk about it as much. Damn, the M1's actually fast, but luckily it doesn't do a dash. Okay, so here's our first ability. Multi-target slash. The same problem I have with dual katana, because you have to get close to someone, so the ability won't be useless. And then our second ability, tornado slash, which is just a long range. Basically nothing else to explain about this sword. Also, obtaining this sword is really simple, but I'm gonna make another video about obtaining all these first C swords in another day for now. So let's head to the next sword, our final rare sword. The most probably the most interesting sword that I discovered is the Trident. This took me probably a long time to attain it because, well, it's a boss drop. Okay, so the fourth swing, I would say the fourth swing does like a little dash, which is annoying, especially whenever you're grinding. Damn one's like, I would say it's slow. Like, not bad, not good, but I would say it's decent. Okay, so our first ability. Let's do our first ability. Head to its enemies here. Our first ability grabs on the enemy and then pulls them. Similar to the spiky trident, if you're familiar with that. If you're not, then yeah, probably I might talk about it later on, but not now. And then let's do our second ability, which I also have the same problem as the Warden Sword and the dual katana, because it requires to be close to someone. What I find this sword interesting is that if you tap it or click it anywhere, first ability, it pulls you in, similar to Rubber's ability. If you know what Rubber abilities are, I would say this sword is definitely the definition of Spider-Man. Basically, this is probably interesting with them all. Obtaining it is like, it sounds simple, but depending on your luck, basically. Because, well, I had to defeat the boss, which I'm going to explain it in a future video about obtaining the Trident Sword. And now, let's finally head to our final category, which is the Legendary Swords. Okay, so our category now is the Legendary Swords in first C. So, this is our first legendary sword, which is the pull but first form. I forgot to mention that there's like 3 legendary swords in first C, which all of them they have V2 versions. So in the legendary category of these swords, I'm gonna have to show you guys about the V1 and the V2, because 2 of the swords that I currently have that are in V2, which is the Bicento and the Saber sword, which sadly cannot go back to V1, so I'm gonna have to show the V1 ability from someone else. So yeah, I'll explain everything later on. So now let's just get started with the pull. I would say the design is just pretty much simple. The design, the M1, I would say it's just medium, not fast, not slow. I would say it's just kind of alright. Oh, okay, so let's do our first ability. A simple cloud, basically, and then we got lightning rain. It does like a little stun for a while. What? Wait, what? Okay, I'm not gonna question. So I will explain full second form whenever I make a second C sword video explaining all the second C swords in a future video for now. If you're interested of me showing the second form. So now let's just move on to the next sword. Okay, so our also most well-known sword in First C in the entire game, which is the saber sword. As I explained earlier, this is on V2, so I cannot show in V1, so I have to rely on other swords to show the V1. So let's just get started. But be in mind that I will be showing V2 abilities right now, and then later on I'll show V1. Okay, so this is our first attack in first ability in Saber. Dash. But it could be deadly. Now triple slash. Also, that could also be deadly if you hit all your slashes. If you see the difference. Yeah, I forgot to show the M1. The M1, I would say, even though people say it's slow, I just kind of find I should just kind of see it as fine. Ooh, that's actually a really good damage. But the problem with Saber V2 is that it's hard to hit all the slashes from your Saber abilities. So it just really depends on the user aiming, because you might actually struggle doing it in PvP, also grinding. But the only good thing about this sword, especially whenever it's on V2, you could literally deal massive amount of damage. You could deal max damage with Saber. So most of the time, I like to use Saber Sword as my go-to sword for CB's hunting. Now let's get to our final legendary sword. So this clip that I'm about to show you is the showcase of Saber V1. So here is the showcase. So now the sword from earlier, from the intro that I showed, is the bicentennial sword. The same problem with Saber is because this sword's on also V2, which you can't get V1 back. So I'll be showing the V2 abilities, and then later on I will show the V1 ability for Bicentennial. The M1, I forgot it does the heavy thing. AoE. I would say it's just decent. Okay, now what everybody's interested is the abilities. So here's our first ability. Similar to the triple dark blade, if you really know that, is famously known as well. Mostly admins owns it. And now here's the second ability, Quake Sphere. I love using the Bicentennial sword as a PvP sword, but most of the time I like to use Dragon Trident, which I'm going to explain it in the future video. If you didn't know, the Bicentennial is probably the most expensive sword in First C. Not only that, but it's one of the best swords that deal massive amount of damage. If you're not aware. Yeah, this sword literally deals massive amount of damage. It is really great for PvP, but I'll say it's kind of poor whenever you're doing combos, basically. And now time to show the V1. Okay, so there's another sword that I forgot to mention, which is very possible you could get it even if you're level 1, which is a mythical sword which everyone should know by now, which is the Dark Blade. I'm gonna showcase it, the V1 and the V2. Sadly, I can't showcase it because, well, I don't own the sword because I'm broke. Well, technically I'm not broke because I could afford it, but I just can't right now. So anyway, here's the showcase for the last sword, which is the mythical Dark Blade. Okay guys, so that's it all for today. So my next video, I'm gonna be trying to explain how you can get all the first C swords, including the V2s. I have like one more reminder to say, which this is the only thing you gotta do. It's just subscribe and like. It's really that simple. I know everybody's gonna start saying, oh, but you don't post like much content. Just remember, I'm busy because of school. So if you say, oh, like I barely post anything on the channel, just remember, I'm like busy almost all the time. So the only times I'm gonna able to post the videos are in the weekends. And that's it all I just gotta say for today. So I'm hoping I could make another video. So yeah, that's it. See you later, I guess.